Well, let's bring in Professor Darren Griffin, who is a genetics specialist at the University of Kent in the United Kingdom. Thanks very much for being with us here on Front 24. Now, we were just hearing there about what a big breakthrough this is. However, it doesn't seem like this is going to be used in a real pregnancy anytime soon.
Yes, correct. I mean, I think what it does is provides proof of principle for something that might be used sometime in the future. But there are an awful lot of debates to be had about safety, about clinical need, about how practical it is, and also about the ethical considerations. So yes, there's a long way to go.
And we've been talking about this heart disease. Could this be applied to other illnesses?
Yes, so basically it is potentially applicable to any disease that's caused by a single gene. So the classic example would be cystic fibrosis.
And is research into those kind of areas underway at this point, or have scientists been waiting for the principles to be proven?
Well, there's an awful lot of research that goes on in the system itself, the so-called CRISPR-Cas9. That's the system that's used to correct the defect. And there's an awful lot of research that goes on in the field of human genetics and embryology generally. So it really came as no surprise that someone was going to report this as a proof of principle. But an awful lot more research needs to be done in order to understand the process better.
Now, there have been some big newspaper headlines about this story, some of them saying it's the first step towards designer babies, being able to pick your baby's hair and eye colour, that kind of thing. What's your assessment of that? Is it likely that we're heading down that path?
Okay, so I mean, it is an argument that comes out each time there is a new innovation in genetics and IVF, and of course, completely unregulated, that might well be a concern. Now, certainly here in the UK, we have a lot of people working very hard on the ethics, on the social policy, on the legal aspects of all of this. And in the UK, we are highly regulated by any work we can do on human embryos. So at the moment, it's illegal to perform this particular technique in order to establish a pregnancy. But also in each case that we want to do a diagnosis and then a selective implantation of an unaffected embryo, then again we have to go through the regulator. So yes, it would be a concern were it not for the fact that ethical debates, and in many countries, happen all the time.
Mm-hmm. And considering all of these ethical worries, the debates, the legal restrictions potentially, are there not other avenues that could be explored that would be less controversial in fighting these illnesses?
Well, there are gene therapies of the illnesses themselves. So we saw some advances in Duchenne muscular dystrophy recently, but that, of course, presupposes that someone has the disease in the first place. There are all sorts of medical interventions depending on the nature of the disease. So this is just one aspect of it. Now, I think what we need to bear in mind is just because something is controversial doesn't mean to say that we shouldn't necessarily do it, but what we need to do is have a proper, robust and ethical and social debate to see if we as a society are happy with going forward with it.
All right, Darren Griffin, genetics professor at the University of Kent, thank you so much for giving us your expert opinion on this story.
My pleasure.